feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online. And very proudly presented by Motley Rice, causes not just cases. MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Find us at jbandgoldwatershow.com. Also, make sure you've got the app. Chime in on the Share Healthcare chat lines. They're open, and a lot of you are already in there. Share Healthcare is where you can go to lower what you pay each month for your family to take care of it. ShareHealthcare.com, as low as $149 a month. If you're rebudgeting for 2022, might want to put health insurance or health care in there and make it a little bit less expensive than it is right now. Right now, Carolina feels pretty good about themselves because they just landed another big-time recruit. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Darren, we got Wes Mitchell coming up, so obviously it's going to be a big day for him. South Carolina this weekend has cleaned up out there on the recruiting trail, even though some people think that they can't do that. We'll also talk to him about transfers, who's still out there for the Gamecocks as far as recruiting goes, NFL decisions, any more that have or may be made soon. Bowl practice starts today. That's kind of important news. You know, they do have a game coming up on December the 30th, and much, much more. Signing day starts coming up later on in the week. We got Gene Sapakoff. We've got all types of hoop stuff. It was a huge weekend for Carolina in basketball, men's and women's. So it's another full boat, and we hope you all stick around. How you doing, man? How was your weekend?
I'm good, man. I'll start with a shout out to my boy Wes Crow. When he got into the business of sports production, live TV sports, he was what's called a stage manager. A stage manager's job is to sit next to a play-by-play guy and analyst and literally hand him sheets of paper. That's it. That's all he had to do. He did that for SoCon broadcasts when no one needed to do that. I had like 4 cards I had to read, but he got into the business that way. He cared more than anyone I've ever worked with about the profession. Couple years later, he was doing stats for me at a SoCon basketball tournament when he said, I've got an interview. I'll leave the name out with this very high-ranking guy at ESPN. Helped him get in there. South Carolina, Florida State. Long story short, I was wrong. It was the first linear basketball game he had done, but the second linear ESPN game he had produced as the main guy in the main chair producing the game, and he got a end game sequence out of it and nailed it. Gave you guys everything you wanted to see, continually giving you everything you wanted to see throughout it. Good win, good day, good graphics. Pumped for my boy Wes Crow.
Good night. Good day, good win, good graphics, good night. Well, he did you recognize more of those things, obviously, than I do. But seemingly did a great job, and it was a really good game.
Yep.
So that's all good news.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard for the casual fan to see, right? I mean, you watch a broadcast. I mean, stuff comes on the screen and stuff is said. You hear things. It's hard unless you've been behind the scenes to really know what's going on, because there's a lot going on, a ton. So yeah, there's more of an appreciation from my standpoint, knowing what I'm seeing and what's happening to make that be seen, and how that all works and what angles I'm getting and when and why. And yeah, he did a good job.
Well, he did a great job. We're obviously, Darren, gonna talk about that game. That's a big win for South Carolina. Maybe to the surprise of some, though, it's not the best win on their resume, believe it or not. Which was strengthened with the victory over an ACC team. And we'll talk about the ladies as well. But I know I see you here in the Share Healthcare chat lines, so I do want to get to what everybody's talking about, and that's Stone Blanton, the latest commitment for South Carolina as of a little bit less than an hour ago, probably about 45 minutes ago or so. He is out of the state of Mississippi, and leading up to this announcement today, those at Gamecock Central and also our friends over at the Big Spur were feeling really good about it for different reasons. Seemingly there was some information behind the scenes that led everybody to believe that he was going to pick up a Carolina hat, and he did. So the Gamecocks have just landed an Under Armour All-American linebacker out of the state of Mississippi over Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And, for those that still question Shane Beamer and his staff and not being able to recruit and this, that, and the other, I'll bring Darren into this because one of these young men was strongly considering his school, and that was this weekend with Jay-Sean Barham, who committed to South Carolina over Penn State and over Maryland, which is 20 minutes away from his house. And then today they reel in a kid out of Mississippi over the in-state schools there. I would say, Darren, that's a pretty strong statement that Shane Beamer and his staff kind of know what they're doing out there on the recruiting trail. It's been a pretty good 48 hours for them. And signing days this week, by the way, the latest recruiting rankings per Rivals.com, Carolina is 12th in the country now. So it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, didn't have time to update this one graphic that's up there that has them at 15th and 6th in the SEC with the Blanton announcement that came just 30 minutes ago, maybe an hour ago before the show. Remember Friday, we were using the 247 analysis of South Carolina recruiting. Today I've got Rivals because we have Wes Mitchell and Gamecock Central coming on. So we'll pump them. But the fact remains the same regardless of the site you look at. The improvement on Friday compared to where they were a year ago, and they were in like the high 70s in recruiting ranking. And I think they were 13th or 14th in the SEC last year. So now they're up to 5th or 6th in the SEC and top 12 nationally per Rivals. If you're wondering how things are going on the recruiting trail, that's all you need to know. How's it going to play out? Who knows? But how's it going on the trail? It doesn't matter what site you look at. Rivals, On3, 24/7. The numbers are good. And the confidence level, I think I like Justin Stepp's tweet the best earlier today with the Connor Shaw gif of him kind of strolling on the field saying, this is what Clayton White's looking like walking down our hallways today. And I guess for good reason, right? You nab two linebackers, and that also shows you the value of some type of consistency, right? You've got Clayton White, you got Shane Beamer. There's a chance that Barham was going to Penn State. Brent Pry left. That chance left too, and it's a good get for South Carolina.
Oh, it's tremendous what they're doing. I mean, this is it just goes to show you too, Darren, that although there's always going to be a loudmouth group of people in every fan base. What we've talked about this around here a lot, and I know many of our guests have as well. You have to circle the fact that they won 6 games this year. And, from the outside world looking in, that doesn't mean anything. But internally, when you won 6 total games like combined in the last 2 seasons, and you get a change of leadership like this, that it showed improvement, as you've pointed out multiple times on our program. It wasn't pretty to get there, but that's an easy sales pitch. Hey, we won 6 games. Imagine what we can do with you. So, these guys, they know how to recruit, man. And, I get it. The kind of the cherry on top type comment back when you talk about recruiting is, well, I hope it translates into wins. Yeah. Doesn't everybody? But for the time being, it's okay to be excited about it because there hadn't been a whole lot to be excited about around here for a while. So, I think this is a tremendous couple of days for Shane Beamer, and it could get better heading into signing week. I guess it starts Wednesday, I believe, Darren, and runs through Friday. So it's a good day for the Gamecocks with the football guys this weekend. Barham coming. I saw somebody in the Share Healthcare chat lines ask if this is the best linebacker class ever. I'm going to defer that question to Wes Mitchell because I don't know. I don't know the answer to it, and they still all have to put that ink on paper. But so far, yeah, it's strengthened a lot over the last couple of days.
And there's reason for, again, optimism, right? I mean, there's been so much of this roller coaster of, well, we've overachieved on the field, but we didn't love the product that we saw on the field to get there. We had all this anticipation leading into the year, and then we had the fluctuations of the year, right? The learning process of the year, the questions that still persist, particularly on one side of the ball to this day. Yet you can kind of put that over here right now because the fan base, there's a large portion that's super vocal about what they want and the changes and why. And I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong, but it's a portion of the fan base that put that over here for now, because the big picture, I keep going back to the big picture. The big picture is on the field, you've overachieved. From a national perspective, there is glowing praise on Shane Beamer and the trajectory of the program. And now on the recruiting rankings, there is growing praise and there will be national love. Absolutely. It will continue to get mentioned. Look what they've done. They went 6-6 their first year. Now they've got a recruiting class that's into the top 15. Let's see who else they get and who they get in the portal. There's a lot of positivity out there, despite what you might hear if you get lost inside the fan base chatter sometimes.
And it's a small minority of people as well. I will say, I see my man Keith Alsep. He said, I think you should here in the Share Healthcare chat lines, I think you should specify Shane Beamer's defensive staff. 0 offensive commits since the summer. Clayton White is killing it. Shatter fail. Picture Debbie Downer. To Keith's point, 14 of the 20 commitments are defensive guys. So defensively, this is a hell of a class. Offensively, there's some talent in there, I would say, headlined by Landon Sampson, but it appears crystal clear to me. This is, you try to piece together the information with who you know and what you know, right? So it seems crystal clear to me that the transfer portal is going to be where they're going to go get offensive guys because they got to fix the offense now. Defensively, they're going to have a solid base that returns next year, and they're going to be able to recruit to that base to develop it over the next couple of years. And that's exactly what's going on here with these guys. But offensively, you don't have a couple of years. Like, you got to fix the offense today. It looks like that's going to be the portal. And what does that look like? I don't know. I don't have those answers. That's why we have Wes Mitchell on at 12:30. He can give us the answers to those questions. But offensively, they've not the last offensive commitment they had. He's a pretty good one. Landon Sampson, by the way, from the state of Texas. Once again, pretty good poll there for South Carolina football. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. Again, a loaded 30 minutes or so with Wes Mitchell at Gamecock Central. Hey, before we turn the page to hoops, Darren, I want to make sure we remind everybody that Three Seeds Wellness Studios sponsors our 12 days of giveaways here on the JB and Goldwater show. And Darren and I have a couple of gift cards that are going to slide into the stockings of our significant others. And you can do that as well by heading to our website, jbandgoldwatershow.com, and just submit your name, your significant other's name, your wife, your husband, whoever, and they can win a $100 gift card or a gift basket to Three Seeds Wellness Studios, or we still have a couple of rounds of golf to give away as well to Stono Ferry, and I have those in my computer, so I can pop it right over to you. jbandgoldwatershow.com, Three Seeds Wellness Studios, cultivate, nourish, grow. Those are the three seeds at threeseedswellnessstudios.com, centrally located in West Ashley here in the Low Country. All right, hoops. What a weekend. What a Sunday for South Carolina, man. The Gamecocks ladies take down Maryland. That is their 4th top 10 win of the year. 40% of their victories are top 10 victories. And it wasn't pretty, but it was a win. And the men take down Florida State. A shot missed at the buzzer by the Noles led to the Gamecocks with a 66-65 victory. So, Darren, that's a quad 2 win for South Carolina. Now, generally, I have zero interest in looking at this crap in the middle of December. All right. Generally, you give me about another 60 days and we'll start paying attention because there's a lot of basketball to be played. But because Frank Martin is under a microscope this year, we'll make it a part of our programming here as we talk hoops. So South Carolina right now, per net rankings through yesterday, are still in the 100s. They're at 114. So that was a quad 2 victory, neutral site win, obviously, in Rock Hill. It didn't bump the needle a ton, but they didn't lose. They didn't lose the game. And Darren, we talked last week about the fact that they probably needed to go 4-1 down the stretch, and they're on a pretty good trek to doing that. They've got Allen coming up on Tuesday tomorrow. Then they'll go to Clemson. Clemson is a 68 team in the net rankings, so that would be I believe a quad 1 win for South Carolina. And then you've got Army and NC State. You know, you don't ever put the cart before the horse with Gamecock basketball, but you know, if you can find a way to take care of business here over these next 4 games, and then you got Auburn coming to town to open the SEC slate, which would be a tremendous win for Carolina if they could get it. You know, you could start to open some eyeballs out there. This team's got a chance. People don't want to give them a chance, but you've watched them play. They've got a chance.
I said after the Coastal game that I thought that'd be their worst game of the year. They would not come close to playing that poorly again. I told a buddy of mine before the Georgetown game that I expected them to win. I wasn't going to actually wager anything because I don't have faith in it because it's still pretty inconsistent, but I expected the bounce back and got it. The news of Kuznard before the game, I'm thinking, okay, let's see. Are we going to see the same inconsistency? The fact that it started out, there was no real flow for the Gamecocks in particular. It was choppy. The atmosphere wasn't great. By the way, I didn't know so many Florida State fans were in the Rock Hill and Charlotte area. And then to fall behind early like that and to have played as poorly and kind of lackluster. I mean, I'm not going to say terrible, but kind of like they were stuck in quicksand a little bit. But then to bounce back after that and make the run and come back and win the game, you can make a case that this was their best win of the year. I think you can make a strong case for that. And yeah, now can you keep this going? Can you keep this momentum going into conference play? Because that'll have you popping up in an SEC that is good.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. It was the first time I'd really seen them this year. Florida State, I'm talking about. You know, I don't really know what to think about them just yet. Personally, again, I've seen them play one basketball game thoroughly, all the way through like that. What do you think about Florida State? Because obviously it's in the Gamecocks' best interest for them to get hot at some point in time and make some noise in the ACC.
They're similar to South Carolina. I mean, they've been up and down. They had a terrible loss a couple of games back. Who it is slips my mind. But KenPom, I think, had him at 60, maybe even 40 entering the game. So there is a belief that this is a talented Florida State team. This could end up being. I mean, if in fact they are similar now, and if the trends continue, if Florida State can, you know, you got a veteran coach, one of the winningest all time, by the way, in the ACC. If he can guide that thing, steer it through the tracks of the ACC, which is not as strong as it typically is, then a win right now that might be the best of the year could be even better. I would expect a better win somewhere along the way in the SEC, but whatever strength of win we give this now, I would think it's better by the end of the year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't see Florida State not being very good. On the Share Healthcare chat lines here, Clint said James Reese's 8-point spurt in about a minute or so was huge. Yeah, that was the turning point in the game when he went on that 8-point spurt there. It literally changed everything over into South Carolina's hands, and they didn't relinquish it from there. When you look at the Noles, they're 5-4, Darren, and they haven't beaten anybody. They lost to Florida by 16 points. They lost at Purdue, and it's not just that they lost at Purdue, who at the time, I can't even remember. I think they were number 1 in the country. They lost by 28 points at Purdue. They lost to Syracuse right
That's
before
the
they
bad
played
loss.
South Carolina. Yeah, they lost
That was
by
the
3.
loss. Mhm.
Yeah. So the last 2 games they've lost by a total of 4 points. But, is it just one of those things? They've now lost 3 in a row. Is it just one of those things where they're just going through a tough stretch? And I'm going to give them a little bit more credit than maybe they deserve at this point in time. And we'll wait and see what that looks like down the road. But at the end of the day, Carolina won the game. They didn't lose the game. It's like, somebody called me last night and said the same thing. He was like, we can cut this sucker up all we want to, but the last I checked, they won, right? I said, yeah, they won. And the net rankings and all that other junk, they don't take necessarily into consideration by how many points. Did you win or did you lose? So they won the game. And now you've got back-to-back wins over Georgetown and Florida State. And although those two teams probably aren't what we expect them to be year in and year out, or at least have come to expect them to be, including Florida State, they didn't lose. So, Carolina deserves some credit right now. They're 7-2, and tomorrow night they can make it 8-2 with a win over Allen.
It's so funny the difference between football and basketball collegiately, because there are so many more games in basketball. So it's so easy to say, hey, they found a way to win, right on. But that's not, and if you struggle and play poorly in the first half and fall down by 15 against Vanderbilt at home and come back and win in basketball, sweet, we won the game. Very different from how you look at the football game afterwards.
I was about to say they did that in football and nobody cared.
Yeah, you cared. You cared. You just cared the other way.
Yeah, I remember after that Vandy game walking out of the stadium and I was looking around going, this feels like a loss, but they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a huge win for them yesterday. Again, it's pretty poor taste in my opinion to try to discredit what they did yesterday on the floor. That's a win. This is a team that's still learning a lot about themselves. It's a lot of new pieces. Yeah, you can throw out there, well, they've been playing together for 9 games. Yeah, sure, that's fine. But they won, and they're trying to get it figured out as SEC basketball approaches. The Clemson game, Clemson's undefeated at home. It's going to be a challenge coming up on Saturday night at 8 o'clock on the ACC network. For Dawn and the ladies, Darren, the train just stays on the track. They didn't particularly play wonderful basketball yesterday either. But they won. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it comes down to. And she doesn't let them breathe. They don't get a breath of fresh air ever, because Duke is up next on the road, and then who? Stanford. 4th-ranked Stanford will come to Colonial Life Arena on the 21st of December. But a 66-59 victory yesterday. Again, that's the 4th top 10 win for Dawn Staley's Gamecocks this year. Zia Cook had 20 points. Carolina turned it over 16 times. They shot 36% from the floor. They hit about half of their free throws. They hit about less than a third of their 3-pointers, and they won the game. So when you can't shoot and you still win by 7 in a top 10 matchup, that tells me you're probably pretty good.
Yeah, and you just laid it out. The percentage of wins they had this year, they're top 10. The fact Dawn Staley's got this program in a prime position. There's probably a better word than prime. Best possible would be another way to put it, because top teams around the country want to schedule the Gamecocks for the same reason the Gamecocks want the top teams. Once you get out of the top 15, 20, I don't know if maybe I'm stretching it too far, the parity becomes a lot more mixed. The level drops a little bit. If you're one of the top teams, there's only one way to prepare yourself for a deep NCAA run. There's only one way, and it's to schedule like this early on in the season. So you got the good and the bad. Okay, we're getting some of our toughest games early on in the year, but we're also going to have to mature faster and be ready for these games at the beginning part of the year, and then learn off those experiences once we get there towards the end, because they'll be around at the end. That's what all this is building towards.
Yeah, it's an animal that Dawn has made here. Those 4 top 10 victories, by the way, have been won by the Gamecocks by a combined 49 points. That's a statement for Carolina basketball. So congratulations to them. Again, Duke is coming up on Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock on the ACC network for South Carolina. Back to the Share Healthcare chat lines here. Craig made a good point about the men, though. Devin Carter, the only one making free throws, and that did almost cost South Carolina the game. I think they finished 10 of 20 or something like that. Imagine if you could hit, like 5 more. That thing would have probably been pretty comfortable for South Carolina. So if they can get it cleaned up from the free throw line, they more than likely would feel pretty good about themselves. But nonetheless, Carolina wins. All right, Bryce Young wins the Heisman Trophy. We all saw it. It was the 9th largest win ever in Heisman history. So did not approach what Joe Burrow did a couple of years ago. Army, Navy upsets Army. You never know what's going to happen in that game, but it was a brilliant football game. And we got a lot of transfer portal stuff that we're going to get to throughout the program, including what on earth is going on over at Auburn. Bo Nix is in the portal, and Tank Bigsby is set to officially be in the portal as well. Carolina fans obviously have a special place in their heart for him, as he did at one point in time film a commitment video in Columbia on top of a tank across the street from Williams-Brice Stadium at the Armory. Ended up at Auburn. So did Mike Bobo. None of them are going to be there moving forward. So obviously those are going to be bits and pieces of our program this afternoon. All right, Wes Mitchell's up next. Gene Sapakoff's ahead at about 1:30 or so. We got some Clemson football we'll get into. We'll dip back into net rankings and things like that. And anything that's on your mind, pass it along on the Share Healthcare chat lines. Quick timeout. Wes Mitchell returns right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard.
Monday.
I really don't want to work. 12:30 this Monday afternoon. I'll just be honest with you because I'm not throwing around a ton of energy today. We had our neighborhood Christmas party yesterday, and we have a little get together before it at our house with pots of chili and hot dogs, and I put a fire out there in the fire pit and all that stuff. But yesterday was also my birthday.
Yeah, that's right. Happy birthday.
So we I forgot it was Monday.
You took it easy. Is what
I forgot it was Monday. Yeah. Well, I was planning on it, but then people who I didn't tell anybody it was my birthday. I didn't want anybody to show up to celebrate my birthday. I wanted them to bring their kids, and it's about the kids. We had the Christmas Santa was coming and all that stuff, and but people found out, and all of a sudden there was a bunch of dark liquor out there. So I said, well, I guess I'll have a couple of those. So we did, and it's Monday. I was thinking it was going to be Sunday again, but it wasn't. So that's okay.
Great.
Yeah, I know. 12:31 on a Monday afternoon. Appreciate it, guys. Really do. Clint, hey, believe it or not, this is the fun part. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's parts of this business that you don't want any part of, man. Darren will tell you when you've been doing it a long time. It can wear thin in a hurry. But no, this is not work. This is fun because of y'all. We get to have fun with y'all every day, so we certainly appreciate that. Before we get Wes in here, I want to remind you, speaking of fun, it's fun to save money because you can, invest the money, or you can save the money, or you can hire somebody, or whatever you want to do. iHelp Consulting can save money for you. How can I help you? It's a simple question you can ask yourself. You head to iHelpConsulting.com, and that's where you're going to find the owner, Daniel Owens, and he's going to tell you how you can save money if there's money to be saved, and you're not going to have to pay him a fee for it either unless you save money. So let me just kind of roll this out there. It's pretty simple, Darren. You own a business. You ask Daniel to come in and check out that business, see if there's any cash that can be saved. It might be in credit card processing fees. You might have QuickBooks, and he can save you in QuickBooks fees. It could be anything. And he finds $5,000 in savings. Okay, so he saves you that money, like you're not going to be paying it anymore, and you just pay out of those savings a small percentage to him to save the money. Pretty simple. Like you're not paying him first to come check it out. It's an amazing business model. iHelpConsulting.com. If you're looking at your 2022 budgets, you're going to need our friends at iHelp Consulting, Daniel Owens and his team. All right, 12:33 on a Monday afternoon. I cannot imagine why Wes Mitchell would be late today. There's nothing going on in Gamecock land. No, I'm just kidding. Carolina is up, according to Rivals.com, to 12th in the latest recruiting rankings, and that is because they landed Stone Blanton about an hour and 15 minutes ago. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing?
Well, we're good, Wes. I mean, nobody's falling apart today. I mean, they've landed two good players in the last couple of days, and they won 2 basketball games. So you got to sneak in as much positivity as you can before something bad happens. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, the Mike Yuba, what is it? Positive Gamecock Twitter tracker. This should be like in a video game when you get double points or something. Like,
yeah.
You should add double days on there, I think, because it's been a wild few days, but a good couple. I mean, God forbid they lose out on a recruit at some point to throw this thing off. But right now, things are rolling, huh?
Well, I mean, Wes, you're going to get this, Darren. You understand what I'm saying here. South Carolina is the only school in the country that sometimes loses recruits to other schools.
Yeah,
this doesn't happen to anybody else. It's only the Gamecocks. So, like, if they don't get a player, they're pretty much the only one that ever doesn't get a player, which is strange because the players that they get, that means somebody else isn't getting. But if you're picking up what I'm putting down here.
Penn State did not get Barham. No, not at all.
No, it was all Carolina.
Yeah.
So, and I'll put that aside, Wes. Being serious here, let's honestly think. I mean, people need to think about this for a second. This young man is in the heart of Rebel country and Bulldog country. He was a commitment to a national championship baseball program and was going to be able to play for Mike Leach as well, or he could go play for the Lane Train at Ole Miss. The Barham kid, 20 minutes from the University of Maryland, Penn State, all over him, Oklahoma. I mean, and both of these young men are leaving really comfortable situations to come to the University of South Carolina and play for second-year head coach Shane Beamer. Talk about the significance of that.
Yeah, I think that's an example of how you sort of have to just build, meaningful relationships with these kids. And, I think you look at Clayton White and the job he did with Stone Blanton. I'll start there. Clayton's not like one of these flashy recruiters. He's not like a used car salesman type recruiter. He's more of a relationship builder. He is, he's really not going to, from my impressions, he's not one of these guys that's just going to fill recruits' heads up with a bunch of promises and stuff. It's more of like, hey, this is what we're about. This is how my defense works. This is how you would fit in, stuff like that. And I think that actually resonated with Stone Blanton. And despite Stone Blanton's early baseball commit to Mississippi State, he really took an exhaustive approach to the recruiting process, took multiple official visits, really had an open mind, he let South Carolina recruit him. He let Ole Miss, he let Mississippi State football, Texas A&M. He really let those schools put their best foot forward. And, for the longest time, it was kind of one of those things where he spoke extremely highly of South Carolina, but you always just sort of assumed, he's going to end up at one of the two Mississippi schools. And then, we got word on Sunday, for one, the Mississippi State writers and stuff were not feeling very good. We started checking around a little bit more around here, and we were like, wow, there's some confidence coming from that ops building over there that this is going to be the Gamecocks. So, it's a great get there. And then, of course, you look at Jayshon Barham. This is a kid that is an elite athlete. I'm as curious as anybody to see what position he ends up playing at South Carolina, because I watched the film. True. I think he's kind of a guy who could play any of the linebacker spots. They've had him listed as like a buck, as like an edge guy, pass rusher. So, that easily could be where he ends up. But also, I think he's got the athleticism to maybe be a will linebacker type guy as well. So all of a sudden, they actually have some really intriguing options in their front seven in this class, and it'll be fun to see where they slot each guy. I still think Nick Emanwari from Irmo, as an outside linebacker type prospect, is probably one of the most underrated guys they have in this class too.
Hell of an athlete, that young man. What type of linebacker class is this? We had some questions earlier in our Share Healthcare chat lines asking, things like, is this the best linebacker class ever and stuff like that? I don't know. But how would you grade this group of linebackers, at least how they're listed right now currently? Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a talented, versatile group right now. I don't get into all that fan stuff about it. It's the best linebacker class, in South Carolina history. Sure. It's hyperbole, but it is a really solid class, a really good class. And obviously adding the last two guys into it, Stone Blanton and Jayshon Barham, assuming they can, I don't think Maryland's going to quit on Barham, so they got to hang on here for the next 48 hours and make sure to get him in the boat completely. But, I look at those two guys, and I think that's true, SEC size that you're adding there with those two guys, SEC athleticism. It's hard to find linebackers these days that have actually played linebacker. And I say it that way because the guys who would have been linebackers in past years are now just being lined up at defensive end in high school and told, hey, go get the quarterback. So, there's very true actual linebackers out there that have played the position. So it's kind of rare. But yeah, you look at Donovan Westmoreland, who's probably going to be more of an edge guy as well. And then, like I said, Nick Emanwari, who's one of my favorite guys in this class, racked up a ton of tackles this past season. Excellent athlete. It's a really, really good class at that position that, that's really, you're saying that because of the last 3 days. I think it's
it's kind of got to have those two guys in there as well for you to be this high on it, I think.
Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central, 12:40 on a Monday afternoon. Gamecocks class now 12th in the country. It is the 4th highest ranked SEC class out there as well, behind Alabama, Georgia, and Texas A&M. That says something as well. Wes, these 20 commitments right now, do we expect all of them to sign in this early signing period?
That's a good question, man. That's sort of my anticipation. We're still
okay.
We've got like messages out to pretty much all the guys, or will within the next probably few hours, making our final tally of what time they're going to sign, on Wednesday. So that would be that's the trend, that pretty much everybody, for the most part, unless you're considering other schools, most guys just go ahead and sign. And this class, give them credit, man. This class of kids has been really firmly locked into South Carolina throughout the process. Like I said, with Jayshon Barham, he's one to continue to track between now and Wednesday, just to make sure, just because that one was so interesting on Saturday. But I think for the most part, without me being able to say, yes, I've talked to every single guy and they're all signing Wednesday, that's probably where I would lean.
The scoreboard says 30-0, and South Carolina has lost to Clemson every year since 2014. But right now, Carolina fans could celebrate a little bit. Small December victory here, where they are 12th in the country in recruiting, and Clemson is 19th. For those that get all hopped up on that, congratulations, you won today. Wes, you mentioned tracking Barham through the early signing period, just to kind of make sure. What else are you tracking through the early signing period? Other names out there that could end up or ultimately inking with the Gamecocks?
Yeah, there's several guys. I will start locally. I think you got to look at Xavier Short there at Chapin. He's a kid South Carolina continues to chase, and is committed to App State. I think they're in pretty good shape. With him, you look, obviously, Ramon Brown, big time running back. South Carolina went in home with him last week. Committed to Virginia Tech right now, but Monterio Hardesty has hung in there, done a good job keeping South Carolina in that conversation. And I think there may be more in that one than maybe people assume. So we'll be tracking that one down the stretch. Maryland has tried to make a push there with Ramon as well, so we'll see what direction that goes. Let's see, off the top of my head, who else am I missing? Looks like James Pierce is probably going to be a February guy. R. Mason Thomas, Iowa State commit that South Carolina's continuing to chase. He is a February guy. And then, of course, at some point you have the transfers, but the transfer targets don't really operate on the same timetable that the high school kids are right now.
Let me ask you real quick about the Short kid, Xavier Short, wide receiver, committed to App State. I think he's a Chapin kid. You would like to think if he had an offer from South Carolina, and Wes, I believe I'm correct here, per your reporting or Chris's reporting, this is kind of a dream offer for him. So I have a two-part question. One is, well, if it's a dream for you, you have the offer. Why is he not just gone ahead and flip that switch? And the other is, what is intriguing about this young man in the eyes of the Gamecock staff? I think he's a wide receiver. So what do they like about him?
Yeah, well, he'll play H-back at South Carolina.
Okay.
More of an H-back tight end type prospect. And, they you look, first of all, he's been committed to App State for a while now, and he's, there's a loyalty factor here. App State has been on him they offered him obviously well before South Carolina accepted his commitment. So they've done a really good job. I think this is one of those scenarios, all things being equal, if South Carolina had offered a while back and App State had offered a while back, and that was just sort of even, then it would have been a no-brainer. It would have been South Carolina. Obviously, you look at the process. You're always constantly evaluating. You're looking at your needs. You're looking at your board, and it's no secret South Carolina, went pretty much all in on Oscar Delp. At tight end, they're different prospects as far as necessarily what they look like right now, but as far as positions go, you're talking about guys who are going to play similar roles, at least on the surface. So I think you look and they sort of kept evaluating him. He had a big senior season, has always been an extremely productive prospect. And honestly, for most of the time, I had Chapin people telling me like, hey, South Carolina is missing the boat on this kid. This is one of those kids that's going to pop up a couple of years later, and everybody's going to be saying, why did one of the in-states, bigger in-state schools not take him? So, South Carolina kept evaluating, compared, as far as with their numbers as well, what they were looking at tight end. They decided to offer and make a move. So I ultimately, I feel like South Carolina is probably going to win out here in the end, but it was a little bit more interesting than it probably would have been.
I would. I don't know much about the young man. I would just put this in the back of people's minds for anybody that runs to Rivals and looks him up and says, well, 6'2", 210-pound, 2-star recruit, that he's not going to help us. I hope the name Pat DeMarco comes into your brain pretty quickly, because nobody cared about Pat DeMarco except his uncle was Chris when he committed, and Pat DeMarco ended up being a pretty damn good football player at South Carolina. All right, Wes, you mentioned the transfer portal. We did have somebody bring up earlier that no offensive guys have committed since the summer. I believe the last commitment on the offensive side of the football is Landon Sampson, the 4-star wide receiver from the state of Texas. It looks like Carolina is trying to address the offense through the transfer portal, Wes, so they can get some immediate help. So what are you hearing there? We've heard the names over the last week or so, Rattler, the Johnson brothers, and things like that. I think Quinn Ewers is committed to Texas now, so he gets to keep his NIL deal. Good for him. But what are you hearing on those names, and what other names are out there that we should be monitoring over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would say those guys. Then Austin Stogner, the tight end from Oklahoma. Carolina is actually, I would say, in really good shape with Stogner. He took visits to Ohio State and Iowa State as well. Carolina may be the favorite right there, honestly. So that would be a big get for them. And I think you look at the other guys, Johnson brothers. Hate to break it to everybody, I don't think that's happening for South Carolina. Chris Clark is going to be one of those situations where Chris Clark was very far ahead of the curve here, with him reporting on Sunday that Texas A&M has quite a bit of buzz there. I think you'll probably see that play out here.
Can I interrupt you real quick? I think some people are wondering why. I would just like to point out that it's now official that Zach Calzada at A&M, their quarterback, has entered the transfer portal. So maybe some clarity to that situation. Go ahead. I just want.
Yeah, I think Calzada probably reacting to that news hitting the Texas A&M offices potentially that another quarterback is now coming in. I don't know. That's weird. I mean, Max Johnson. Didn't LSU beat A&M with Max Johnson at quarterback? On a game-winning touchdown pass, I think, or a game-winning touchdown drive at the end. So that's the portal just opens up all these just different weird scenarios we're not used to seeing in college football. But it looks like Johnson brothers probably to A&M. It appears right now. Stogner, South Carolina, again, is in pretty good shape there. Spencer Rattler is really a ghost, I think, as far as people trying to track that and, what's going to happen there. If somebody tells you they know, they're probably fibbing a little bit there. But I think South Carolina is certainly in it with Spencer Rattler. I think they're in the conversation. So, we'll keep tracking that. And then here's the thing, y'all, the portal, there are these super high profile guys right now that we're talking about. But there's hundreds of other kids that are in there as well. And there will be probably hundreds more in after bowl games are over as well. So, these high profile guys are really fun to talk about, but I'd imagine certainly the wide receiver position is going to get addressed in the transfer portal. Depending on what happens at running back, that's a position South Carolina will probably end up hitting. Certainly if they miss out on Ramon Brown, they want Ramon Brown right now. if they miss there, the portal becomes an option there. Offensive line, maybe. We'll see what happens at quarterback. And then, you know what? If a great player wants to come, if he's a fit in what you do, is there really a spot on this roster where you sit there and say, they couldn't use a difference maker there? Mm-hmm. Probably not. So, I think the portal, as far as like what people are talking about right now, is sort of those handful of guys we're talking about. But the portal is going to be, I believe, much more expansive than that as far as the guys South Carolina is ultimately going after.
Yeah, Wes, I mean, it's interesting how this is all going to continue to change. You mentioned running back, for instance, and maybe eventually needing to take a transfer running back. As it stands today, they probably won't need to do that. But there are some decisions out there that need to be made by current Gamecock players. I had some pretty good intel, I'd say, not this past week, but the end of the previous week that said that, Kevin Harris, Jordan Strawn, those are the two names that popped right up, were guys, amongst others, considering the NFL. Don't really have much. You would have way more than I would, clearly, but on transfer destinations or guys who are really considering transferring. I know Connor Jordan has entered the portal, but that's not shocking. It shouldn't be, at least to South Carolina fans. So what are you hearing with some of these guys and their potential futures in the NFL? I know there's an eval period going on with the staff, and they're communicating with pro teams and stuff like that. But what are you hearing about some of those dudes and whether they should or shouldn't return to school?
Yeah, I think, starting with Jordan Strawn, that's a guy to me that has an NFL future. When I would Jordan Strawn benefit from coming back and being a sure starter? I think you look at that position, and next year Jordan Strawn and Jordan Birch are your two starters, at those edge/defensive end spots. So, if I'm them, or if I'm Jordan Strawn, I'm probably, I would imagine, coming back is going to be the best case scenario there for him. Kevin Harris, it's been out there for a while now, or at least circulating for a while now, that Kevin Harris has his eyes on the NFL. I don't know if that would necessarily be the best decision for him right now, as far as what I'm sure the draft guys are saying. But at the same time, sometimes when guys are ready, they're ready. So I think Kevin Harris is certainly one. I will say this: he's probably the one we've been focused on the most, as far as what we've been gathering information on, as far as being a potential guy that's probably leaning towards heading to the NFL.
So, Kevin Harris, I'm not trying to put you in an awkward spot or anything like that here, Wes, but, there's still, I think, some uncertainty that we believe would be there about the future of the offense at South Carolina. Shane Beamer's not announced any changes. He hasn't necessarily hinted at any changes. I think we're all speculating on change at this point in time, and there's a lot of people out there that believe that change probably will come. I'm talking about the OC position and maybe a couple of other areas. I'm just curious of your opinion here. Do you think that a decision made by Kevin Harris would be contingent on what happens with the staff?
No, I mean, I haven't heard that. I think sometimes guys just get it, and that may be the case. I don't know, but I think sometimes guys just get in their head after a certain amount of time. This was Kevin Harris's third season. Sometimes you get it in your head that, hey, it's time to roll on. It's time to make a move. So I certainly think, my personal opinion would be, Harris could probably benefit from another year, especially if the offense can make a jump, moving into next year, and he could put out some numbers more representative or closer to what we saw the prior year. Then, I think that makes the stock go up quite a bit. And as far as Kevin Harris goes, if I'm him, I'd certainly be paying attention to that. What's going to happen after the bowl, what's going to happen with the staff, what's the plan moving forward. You got to think, regardless of what happens, what the plan is, just the status quo of like rolling the same offense out there. and I'm not even talking about who's running the offense, just literally from a scheme standpoint, just the status quo of let's go do the same thing again. You got to think that's probably not going to fly, right? So, if I'm a running back, I'm certainly going to be intrigued to know what's going to happen there.
All right, real quick here, Wes. Couple of wide receivers transferring out of Clemson. Frank Ladson, a Jew announced on Saturday he's leaving there. Would Carolina have any interest in those guys?
I haven't heard anything about them specifically. I'll say this. I think they got interest in anybody that can help at that position. That's now that there are a lot of wide receivers in the portal. That is a position I feel like that lends itself to the transfer portal. Guys want to play. A lot of receivers have this mindset of, not that everybody doesn't have a mindset of wanting to play early, but receivers certainly have a mindset of wanting to play early. And so it lends itself well to that spot. I haven't heard anything about South Carolina being involved with those two guys yet, but I do expect they're going to be involved with several receivers in the portal.
By the way, you can add one more quarterback name into the mix. 3-year starter at Southern Cal, Slovis, has jumped into the portal as well.
Wow. This transfer stuff is wild. Gamecocks start practice today for the bowl game. We'll talk more about that next week and see where they are. They are on the field right now. They're scheduled to be on the field at 3 o'clock. They'll be on the field tomorrow. What am I reading here? Yeah, 11:30 tomorrow, 3 o'clock today. Okay. All right. Well, Gamecocks.
I hope they're not, because I'm supposed to be there.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Wes. Yeah, it's all good. Gamecock Central will have you updated and covered on all that stuff. Good couple of days for recruiting, and Carolina now getting ready for the other Carolina in the Mayo Bowl up there in Charlotte. Wes, thank you, man. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll do it again next Monday.
All right, thanks, Asher. Have a good one, okay?
Later, man.
Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Gene Sapakoff still ahead. Time for a timeout. Hour 1 is in the books. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. ihelpconsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Roberts, owner of Three Seeds Wellness Studios. And just like being in your favorite ballpark feels like home, our studio feels like home to our clients. We offer over 20 different services to help our guests cultivate, nourish, and grow their bodies and minds. Centrally located in the heart of West Ashley, we offer massages, facials, acupuncture, yoga classes, and everything in between, helping you become that you want to be. A complete list of services are available online, and gift cards are available both online and for curbside pickup. Go to 3seedswellnessstudios.com. Happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Show. Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour here. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, motleyrice.com. Gene Sapakoff's going to pop in now. I've got something that's popped up in my life that I have to go take care of. So Darren's going to roll forward with Gene Sapakoff, and I'll see all of y'all tomorrow at noon.
Take care of it. We'll see you tomorrow there, man.
Thank you, Darren. See all of you later.
See, this is what happens, Gene. You open the show talking about a live production, and that's what we did because my buddy produced the South Carolina-Florida State game, and it was just the second time he had done an ESPN linear full number one chair production. And now we wrap in a live production and things happen kind of right with you. You jump in early, Jamie jumps out early, and here we go. Thanks for jumping on early, man.
The ability to make the adjustment is a key in all sports and in all sports radio, Darren.
Yeah, it sure is. So speaking of adjustment, why don't we jump into what we're seeing right now with the South Carolina Gamecocks, Beamer, and on the recruiting trail? Because I pointed out there's a portion of the fan base that rightly has concerns about what they saw offensively and how they want to move forward. But at the same time, the big picture is that this South Carolina team is now being painted from a national brush as having overachieved. And now with the recruiting class that's into the top 15, at least in the rivals rankings, haven't had time to check all of them. I guess it's there or close to there in all of them as well, and could get better. What does this say about Beamer year one and what's happening leading up to signing day?
So far, so good. Like you said, I think they overachieved on the field. I think the over-under on wins for the season was about 4.5. They've got 6. They're in a bowl game. They appear to be doing better in recruiting than people thought. I do think it's a little early to evaluate for a few reasons. Number one, there are now 3 kinds of recruiting: conventional high school recruiting, which is what we're kind of talking about, recruiting your own roster away from the transfer portal, and then, of course, recruiting the transfer portal. Shane Beamer needs to do equally well in all those situations going into next season and 2023 and 2024. So we'll see, but so far so good for Beamer and the Gamecocks.
it's odd because we can sit here and say so far so good for Beamer and the Gamecocks. And while you've said and you've put in the paper, don't buy shorts on the Clemson stock, where they're shorting up their recruiting list a little bit. A couple guys on the defensive side have decided to at least reopen things. Is there some concern up there right now?
There's no doubt that there's concern, and especially coming off a 9-3 season, which, it could well be 10-3, but for them, that's a disappointment. No one will say that it isn't, not even Dabo Swinney. So, yeah, but I think that's what you expect in a transitional thing when you lose high-profile coordinators, and they've lost 2 in 1 year. Again, to me, the strange thing or aberration or however you want to word it is that Venables and Elliott didn't leave a long time ago when they were winning enough to get to 6 straight college football playoffs and 2 national titles. So here they both go in the same year, and here they go right before signing day, basically, and you're naturally going to take some hits for that. Also, Darren, a key here is that Dabo Swinney has chosen, apparently, and this will be announced tomorrow evening officially at a press conference, to replace from within. Now, when you do that, you're not going to get any recruiting bounce out of that. That is to say, he could have gone and gotten, some defensive coordinator from a big time school in the Big 12 or the SEC or something, and then maybe that guy would have brought in some recruits. So that's one of the things that is a drawback when you replace from within. But overall, I think Clemson, I do think that it's a mistake to say Clemson's going in the tank or anything like that. Do I think they're going to win 2 of the next 6 national championships? No, I wouldn't bet on that. But I would bet that they'd be in the mix for ACC championships every year that Dabo Swinney is there. And that realistically is what you should hope for if you're a Clemson fan.
Does it surprise you? Now, there's been a history, clearly, of Dabo promoting from within. He hasn't gone outside and it's really bringing those guys in, and specifically Venables. So does it surprise you now that that's the way he's going, or is this probably what most expected?
A little bit of both. He's made 4 coordinator hires since he got rid of his original 2, which is Billy Napier and Kevin Steele. So the 4 hires are Chad Morris coming from SMU. I give him an A+ on that hire. Brent Venables from Oklahoma. I give him an A+ on that hire. And then he promoted from within Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott to be co-coordinators in late 2014 to replace Chad Morris. After that, they went to the 6 straight college football playoffs and won 2 national titles. I'll give him 2 A+ there. So he's had to replace 4 coordinators, and in every time he's aced at 2 going outside, 2 from within. So until he screws up, I'm going to trust the process that he knows what he's doing. Now, this is going to be a little weird. He's getting criticism from way outside the program and from veteran Clemson fans in bringing young Wes Goodwin, a senior analyst who's been on the staff there for 10 years, is going to be at least co-coordinator, apparently, reportedly. That is an outside-the-box move, no doubt about it. The guy, until this last week, has never recruited. He's never coached on the field, never had to make a big decision under pressure during a game. So that's going to really be fascinating and intriguing within a fascinating and intriguing 2022 season for Clemson.
We're talking with Gene Sapakoff here. To be perfectly honest, that wasn't a name I really even knew up until just a couple of days ago. But then you hear what everyone is seemingly saying about him, at least inside the program, close to him, close to Venables, how tightly knit he and Venables were and how much a part of this Clemson defense Goodwin has actually been. So, I mean, on the surface, right, it's outside the box because for the large portion of the fan base and casual observers may not have really known the name. But could this be one of those home run hires, too, that kind of comes from left field and then you say, wow, I mean, that's why this guy, Dabo, is good at what he does.
Yeah, I think so. And remember, Dabo's a very smart guy. I mean, some people, he's, has the name Dabo and all this, and he's just kind of a funny guy sometimes. He's got an MBA. He's been in private business. He is very smart, and organizationally is one of the best business managers I've seen as a coach. So this is not your father's graduate assistant coach type thing in college football. These guys now tend to be around programs for a long time. Wes Goodwin is 10 years in on this thing. He's been at Mississippi State. He's been with the Arizona Cardinals, and in 2 different stops has been with Clemson for 10 years. So yeah, I think he's 36 or 37, graduated from Mississippi State in 2007. It's not like this is a 24-year-old grad assistant, in other words. And so if Dabo Swinney and people in the Clemson building thinks he's got the chops for this, it'll be interesting to see. And I do think, Darren, that this will take 2 or 3 years to kind of shake out. You couldn't judge Tony Elliott or Jeff Scott right away. You had to kind of see how it played out.
Yeah, it's always a strange conversation, at least for me, talking about coaching hires. I mean, somebody asked me, hey, what do you think of Penn State bringing on Manny Diaz? Well, the track record is good. I mean, the scheme should realistically, logically fit. But I don't know how Manny Diaz is going to do with James Franklin. I don't know what he's going to do in State College. And it's the same with any head coaching or assistant coach hiring. Having said that, how's Tony Elliott going to do at Virginia?
I think he's going to do really well. I think, there's a lot of interesting things going on in that Coastal Division. Pittsburgh's been good. I think Miami just hit it out of the park getting Cristobal to come down there, and then Dan Radakovich is going to help them change the culture. So the Coastal is getting better, but I think, again, give Tony Elliott 2, 3, 4 years to kind of get some recruiting in there that he wants and his system and his staff formulated and so forth. But I think he will do well. How well, I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in an ACC championship game within 3 or 4 years.
I like the move as well. I personally love Charlottesville. It's one of my favorite college towns that I've been in. Actually, I went to tennis camp there 2 or 3 summers, like week or 2 week long camps. Loved Charlottesville, but that's not going to help Tony Elliott very much.
Well, maybe it will, though. I mean, he's actually recruited the quote unquote 757. That's the area code for the Hampton Roads, Norfolk. That they've gotten some good Taj Boyd. I think there's a lot of players to be had in the DC area, Pennsylvania, and of course North Carolina and Virginia. And he's got his recruiting ties all throughout South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So I think that Virginia's, they're not in bad shape now. This is one of the weirdest kind of things. Usually a coach leaves because he's gotten a better job. That's not the case at Virginia, or because he's got fired and the program's in bad shape. In this case, Bronco Mendenhall just decides to kind of step away with the program in sort of an above average mode right now. I think that could be helpful to Tony, because I think Bronco Mendenhall will be a really good resource for him and has time to talk to him and things like that. And it's going to be fun to see how that works out in Charlottesville. And you're right, that's a cool place, both geographically, historically, and all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, fun note that most people probably don't know. The center of Penn State's campus was designed with Charlottesville's campus in mind. Fun note, if you didn't know.
And you know who designed that campus? Of course, Thomas Jefferson himself. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the coolest campuses that you're going to see in the country. And whether you like U of Virginia or not, that's a great place to visit.
It is. It definitely is. We're with Gene Sapakoff here. We're going to switch back around here to the Gamecocks and the bowl game itself. How important is the game with the recruiting picking up steam like it is, with some targets in the portal? How important realistically is this game, or is it more of a surface thing, like 7-6 is better than 6-7?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I mean, yeah, you want to have a winning season, and someday maybe you'll look back and say, that was the only losing season Shane Beamer had, or something like that. But really, I mean, recruiting is so much more important than that. And like I said, I just don't think fans realize how hard these coaches have to recruit their own rosters really now. And of course, the transfer portal. So I'd rather have them invest time in those things than anything else.
Yeah, that's fair. Gene, the transfer portal that we're just talking about, it's blowing up. Right? I mean, we saw it blow up in multiple sports the last couple of years. It feels like in the last 5 minutes, Bo Nix is in, Calzada's in, a 3-year starting quarterback from Southern Cal is now into the mix. Is this a good or a bad thing, the way this is currently trending for college football?
The short term is bad just because and there's almost like semi-agents around that are helping players with this. And I think it's tough, but I've always wanted player freedom. I think it's an okay thing. The people that are journalism majors, band majors, science majors can come and go as they want. I just don't see why football players, just like football coaches, shouldn't be able to come and go as they want. Do they make mistakes? Do they get impatient? Yeah, that's part of culture, especially with American youth. And that's the mistakes you hate to see made, that maybe people should stick it out at a place where they already are. So that is sad because there's only so many years you have in your youth as an athlete, obviously. But overall, I mean, I think it's just something we're going to have to accept. And Darren, this is going on in all sports. I almost fell out of my chair laughing last year watching the NCAA golf individual championships. And the announcers on the Golf Channel are saying the transfer portal is going to completely blow up all these teams next year. It's going on in every sport.
That's nuts. I mean, I knew, but I hadn't yet let my brain process, hey, you know, how would this impact, you know, someone's golf team in the transfer portal? But it makes sense. I mean, it makes total sense. Have you, I mean, changing the landscape, coming and going, the Radakovich Cristobal thing. It was a fascinating article. I think it was Navarro's article in The Athletic about M&D, right? The plan from a booster to go land his two big fishes, Mario Cristobal and Dan Radakovich. What have you seen in the past that you can compare to that search and kind of landing two massive big whales at a massive program like Miami?
Right there in the same week or same few days, I can't recall anything exactly like that. You know, there's been something similar clearly, but such a package deal, usually you'll see an athletic director come in and then maybe he'll get the other person. But this clearly is something Dan Radakovich is absolutely fine with. That's the guy he probably would have gone after. But let's say that they said, hey, Dan, we're going after Mario, whether you like it or not. And I think that's pretty much the way it went down. And similarly with Cristobal, hey, this is the athletic director we have in mind. Is that okay with you? Because this is the guy we really want, okay? So, you know, in both cases, though, I think it's going to be fine. I mean, Cristobal wants to be there. Radakovich wants to be there. They both want to be having a hand in helping Miami turn things around. And it's not just on the field. Everybody knows that Miami culture and financial commitment also needs to turn around. It's just not a healthy situation right now down there, especially relative to the other kind of big time programs they want to compete with, most notably the two bigger schools in their state, Florida and Florida State.
Let's jump to the Heisman Trophy. I know you're a voter. Bryce Young wins it, somewhat of a landslide. I mean, top 10 in terms of percentage of votes. Have you publicly revealed your ballot? If not, can you? And your thoughts on Bryce Young winning it and what that means?
Yeah, can you cue the drum roll? This is the first time I'm publicly revealing my ballot. I didn't reveal it yet just because I think it was such a slam dunk that Bryce Young was going to win. That's who I voted for. I had C.J. Stroud second, and I had Kenny Pickett third. I mean, I think you could have thrown some names up in the hat like Will Anderson and Aiden Hutchinson and those guys, and maybe one of the defensive players for Georgia. But, yeah, I mean, I think Bryce Young was completely deserving, and after the Georgia game, there was just no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking with you, right? How did things change? I think that was Jamie's question last week after the game, and I think you and I both answered at the same time. Well, it's over, right? Bryce Young won the thing, but there was so much consternation arguing about Anderson. I understand, right? I understand the numbers. I understand you can bring more people to New York, and he probably definitely deserved to at least be up there. But are you as up in arms that he wasn't a top 3 guy, seeing as how much of a runaway this was expected and turned out to be?
I don't get that excited, Darren, and I'm open to argument for somebody that wants to debate this, and maybe, you feel differently, but I'm not excited about the difference between the third and fourth guy in the Heisman and getting to go to New York when you have no chance to win it, no chance. And just like I'm not that excited about the last few teams left out of a 68-team NCAA tournament field in basketball. I just, that's just ridiculous. You have no chance to win. What are you complaining about? You should have won some quad one game in February if that was your complaint. But I don't get real upset about that. He had a great year. He'll have a chance to redeem himself or make people think that they were wrong in a college football playoff game. Similarly, I remember Deshaun Watson finishing second to Lamar Jackson in the Heisman in 2016 and clearly finished stronger. And then his comment was, I didn't lose out on the Heisman. The Heisman lost out on me. So maybe Will Anderson will be able to say that if he's holding up a national championship trophy.
That'd be a strong move. That's my reaction too. And that's what I said when a whole lot of Braves fans were upset with a regular season award finalist list announced for Manager of the Year. And because his name is slipping my mind, Snitker wasn't on that list. And well, yeah, you could put him on the list, but he's not going to win. So does it really matter? They didn't love that either.
Right. And in baseball, particularly, it's always the underachiever guy that, the overachieving manager. And in that case, clearly it was Gabe Kapler. The Braves were picked to win the division. So as you said, Darren, it's a regular season award. You don't count the World Series. So I had no problem with that, even though I'm a huge Snitker fan.
Yeah. Couple of hoops notes, Gene, and then we'll let you go. Jamie and I opened the show discussing the win over Florida State for the men in South Carolina, trailing early, not playing particularly well without their best player, then rallying for a win that at the time you can say is probably A, their best win of the year, a win that's probably B, going to look better at the end of the year than it also currently does now. Is the team trending in the right direction right now?
I think so, and they got some real good depth play. Reese, at one point in that game, took it over. I think he had something like 8 straight points with a steal and a rebound. And I just think when you can, like you say, not have Cuisinart in there and then have that kind of play from everybody else, I think Florida State will probably end up, as Leonard Hamilton's teams usually do, being pretty good. And so now you have, even though it was in your own state, a neutral site win that is going to maybe be quad one. And that was nice. Now, they have a habit of falling backwards right after they do something good. It's not going to happen against Allen, I don't think, but they've got to sustain some momentum here.
They do have that habit, but they didn't do it, right? Because after the loss to Coastal, I said on this show that that's probably going to be the worst they play all year. I expected them to beat Georgetown, and they did. They bounced back. But then that habit you're talking about, it showed itself in the first half, and then they bounced back from it. That's why I came away so impressed with it. That, all right, I understand the habit of this team, to use the word for the 12th time. But it didn't happen, even though it was right there on a silver platter for it to continue to happen.
Yeah, and Darren, another couple things about that game is, number one, just that when they needed that defense to clamp down at the end, it did, and they shot free throws terribly. I think they were about 50% from the line, and they still survived that. That's the kind of thing that will improve and theoretically make things easier. Picked 11th in the SEC. It's a long way to get from there to getting an at-large bid, but they're trending in the right direction, and that's the best thing you can ask for going into late December and then the SEC schedule around the first of the year.
Yeah, I'll get a thought here from you on Dawn Staley and the women's side. I don't think we should say trending in the right direction. Doing exactly what everyone thought they would do and dominating and staying atop the polls is what they're doing. Another top 10 win. Is there any reason to say that this is not I don't want to say championship or bust, but Final Four or bust? I mean, that's the expectation here, right?
Yeah. There's so many good things about this team. First of all, when they beat UConn, when Paige Bueckers was still on the Huskies team in the Bahamas, and they crushed them, the South Carolina women's bench outscored the UConn bench 11-0. That is reflective of what kind of depth Don Staley has with this team with the last two recruiting classes. It's terrific. They get so many contributions from all over the place that I just don't think, I think an undefeated season is more likely than not, let alone getting to Minneapolis and winning the Final Four.
Wow. More unlikely than not for an unbeaten.
More likely than
that's
not.
What I meant.
Should say,
yes.
I think they will finish undefeated. Let me rephrase that.
Wow. All right. So I'll run to the bookie right now and see if we're taking odds to finish the women's side undefeated. But I don't disagree with you. I think the way she has stacked the schedule has prepared her and the team for moving down the stretch. But before we let you run, Clemson soccer. I don't know how much Clemson soccer you've covered. They haven't won a national championship since the 80s, but now they've won their third, and it's another national championship for the Tigers.
Well, I saw today on Twitter, which of course I trust everything, Darren, that I read on Twitter, but they're the only school in history to have 3 football and 3 soccer national titles. So football and football. What a remarkable defense that they had down the stretch there, and not just goalkeeping, but it's teamwork all the way, and it was pretty cool to watch. So, yeah, hats off to the Clemson men's soccer team, national champs, and I'm sure that will only help with recruiting there, and maybe they'll get another one as they kind of got to when Coach Ibrahim was running the show back in the day.
Yeah, maybe Neff, to kind of secure his running to replace Radakovich, can say, look, I won a national title like 3 days into my job as interim.
That's right. Look, he's off to a good start. So who knows now what could happen with him as AD.
What's coming up in the Post and Courier this week?
Well, we are taking a look at that Clemson staff, and particularly Wes Goodwin tomorrow. I've got a column about that and some of the things that we just talked about here, Darren. And then, signing day on Wednesday, John Blau covering Clemson, David Cloninger covering the Gamecocks for us. And I've got near billionaire Joe Moglia talking about the sustainable future of Coastal Carolina football as they go into the Cure Bowl on Friday night, and Buddy Pugh of SC State talking about the Celebration Bowl. Both Jeff Hartzell and I will have stories about that about SC State playing Deion Sanders and Jackson State.
Nice. Well, Gene, we appreciate you jumping on early with us. Don't forget, we got Tiger Woods playing with his son this weekend, so we get to see what he looks like this weekend, at least having some fun casually out there with Charlie. But we appreciate the time.
That'll really be cool. That'll be cool to see. Hey, just the sight of Tiger on the golf course, I don't, with Charlie, with Phil Mickelson, with anybody will be cool.
Yeah, the nostalgia in all of us, and dads too. You're going to see it. Yeah, it'll be cool. I'll be watching at least some of it. We appreciate the time, man.
Thanks a lot, Darren.
All right, that's Gene Sapakoff of the Post and Courier. Jamie had to run midway through the show. That's why he is not actually here right now. We had a couple other things planned for the final segment. Actually, Gene was planned for the final segment, and a couple other things planned for what we just skipped over right there. We'll do that tomorrow, so we'll call it a little early hiatus. We're going to let you hear from our sponsors, though, before we go, because, well, they're the reason we're able to come on here every day and talk to you anyway. So we're going to let you hear from them one more time, and then we'll be back at noon tomorrow. So for Jamie Bradford, for Wes Mitchell, for Gene Sapakoff, and everybody in our Share Healthcare hotline chat rooms, we appreciate you. You guys were busy today, and there's lots to be positive about, and that's good. So as Mike Yuva says with Gamecock Central, I guess we got positive Twitter back for right now on both sides, Clemson and Carolina. That's a good thing. Celebrate Positive Monday. We'll leave you with that on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen and presented each and every day by Motley Rice.
Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
All right, guys and gals, we all know it's the holiday season and you've opened up your playbook for gift giving. Don't dig too deep because I have the perfect stocking stuffer for your favorite teammate. Gift cards and baskets from 3 Seeds Wellness Studios in West Ashland. Luckily, my wife doesn't listen to our show or she would know what Santa's delivering from the North Pole. Check out 3seedswellnessstudios.com for gift cards and their retail store and have their elves stuff a gift basket full of holiday magic. 3 Seeds Wellness Studios, 3seedswellnessstudios.com to score this holiday season.